Hey guys, welcome. When last we met, we learned about the Missouri Compromise, the Compromise of 1850, and about Uncle Tom's Cabin. Today, we're going to look at another law that happened. If you remember, we had that Missouri Compromise line, okay? And above the Missouri Compromise line, we have Kansas and Nebraska, right? They're above the line, so they're supposed to be freed states. Uh-oh. If you look, the Kansas-Nebraska Act, an act as a law, allowed people north of this line right here to vote on whether they would allow slavery in their territory or new state. Well, this made the North angry because according to the Missouri Compromise we just talked about, that area should be free. So that is fuel for the Northerners being mad at the Southerners and the Southerners being mad at the Northerners, okay? Another big law that happened or decision that happened was the Dred Scott decision of 1857, okay? In 1857, there was an important national debate on slavery. Dred Scott and his wife, Harriet, were slaves from Missouri who had moved with their master's family to the free state of Illinois. So they were here, slave state. Sorry, let me zoom in. Here's Missouri, that was a slave state, but they moved to Illinois, which is free. So they moved with their masters to a free state. And later they all moved back to Missouri, which was a slave state. Scott went to court to sue for his own freedom. Scott claimed that having lived in a free state should have made him a free man. If slavery was illegal and we moved there, I should be free. The case went before the Supreme Court. Abolitionists paid Scott's legal fees, and leading abolitionist lawyers argued for his case. They wanted to test the legal bounds of slavery, and they were disappointed. The Supreme Court ruled that Scott could not sue for his freedom because he was property, not a citizen. Chief Justice Roger Taney wrote that Scott had no rights, which were any white man bound to respect. Most Southerners were pleased with the decision, but Northern anti-slave groups were enraged. So again, the note is Dred Scott was a slave, but he lived in a free state in Illinois. So Dred Scott went to court and was like, I'm in a free state, I should be free, right? And the court ruled against him, saying that African Americans were not citizens, they were property, and therefore didn't have any rights to even sue for freedom. People, especially those in the North and the abolitionists, were outraged. This is outrageous. Looking back on our history, you go, what were they thinking? Okay. And tensions start heating up. 1859, 2 years later, we have John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry. Abolitionist John Brown led a small group to raid a federal army in Harper's Ferry, Virginia. It's now West Virginia. Okay, so when you go and raid an armory, you're gonna go break in, take all the weapons. Okay, he did this in an attempt to start an armed revolt of enslaved people and destroy the institution of slavery. So he said, we're gonna go get the weapons and we're gonna free all these slaves. Let's go. Okay, the raid failed, did not do well. Brown was actually wounded, and he was found guilty of treason and was sentenced to hang. Before his execution, he handed his guard a slip of paper that read, I, John Brown, am quite certain that the crimes of this guilty land will never be purged away but with blood. And it was a prophetic statement. So John Brown was trying to lead slaves to go get weapons so that they could go and free everybody and destroy slavery. He said, we're going to go get the weapons. We're going to end this. It didn't go great. They were outnumbered. And so he lost. And before he was hung for treason by acting illegally, okay, he said the only way that we are going to get rid of the crimes of this country, the enslavement of people, is with war, with the spilling of blood. And these are the events leading to the Civil War. So it was a prophetic statement. The last straw between the Northerners and the Southerners. So we've been talking about all these laws, all these debates in the political arena. We've been talking about the differences in their lifestyles. The last straw comes when talked about Stephen Douglas and Abraham Lincoln show down against each other. Now, they had a debate earlier. They were called the Lincoln-Douglas debates during 1858. And at these debates, running for the Senate, Lincoln gave a speech in support of the Union, the Northern United States. And he said, a house divided, our country divided. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. Lincoln spoke more on the side of the freed states. And here he is saying that we can no longer stay half free and half slave. We have got to make a decision. We have to move forward as one on what is the best thing for our country, or it's going to cause a split. And it did. Douglas, during these debates, attacked Lincoln, saying this was a radical idea and would ruin the Union. Thus, he didn't want to do anything about slavery. Stephen Douglas is like, just let there be slavery. You do what you want up north, we do what we want down south, okay? But later, when they were running against one another for the presidency, they still had opposing views on slavery. And Lincoln defeated Douglas and was elected our 16th president in 1860. The South did not like that Lincoln was elected. They felt that he did not share their views. They felt that he was anti-slavery. They felt like he wanted more federal control of the government. And that is the last straw before the South decides we don't want to be a part of the Union then. And we start seeing the battle lines drawn, and we're going to talk about that next week. So go and watch the videos on these events. Make sure you understand the laws and the events that we talked about this week, because they are what is leading us to the war. And we're starting strategies and battles next week. See you guys.